It is.
Start here.
I put it in search.
Change to the roll. Lisa, are we ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. 30 more seconds.
I call to order the committee of the whole board meeting at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom of Oak Park and River Forest High School. Please call the roll.
Mr. Richmond.
Here.
Dr. Odell.
Here.
Mr. Arkin.
Here.
Mr. Gertz.
Here.
Dr. Livingston. Mr. Grandhouse. And Ms. Williams-Lee.
Here. I move to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district and independent contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted in accordance with this act. Collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedule for one or more classes of employees, security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, threatened, or reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property. And litigation, when filed against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body, has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be reported and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. And a second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Dr. Odell.
Yes.
Mr. Arkin.
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Richmond.
Yes.
Mr. Grandhouse.
Yes.
Dr. Livingston.
Yes.
And Ms. Williams-Lee.
Yes. Welcome everyone, we are reconvening open session, and are there any public comments?
We have one public comment, one in-person public comment, sorry.
And for public comment, please limit comments, please limit public comments concerning matters within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education to 3 minutes. And this section is intended to be is not intended to be a dialogue with the Board of Education. The response time for questions will be up to 2 minutes. Please.
First public comment is with the Alan Burns. 1 minute, sir.
Thank you.
Hold on.
If I can just take a second before my public comment, and being it is September 11th, I don't know if you did anything earlier, but I think if you didn't, some recognition of the day should have some recognition of the fact that it's September 11th and what that means. President Williams-Lee, members of the board, Superintendent Johnson, my name is Alan Paris. I'm the father of an OPRF alumna and a grandfather of a future Husky. Being retired, my wife and I are lucky we can take long trips. Our last trip began just after the anti-Jewish campaign flyer directed against board candidate Nate Bellman. Our trip ended just after 2025 convocation, when I heard that a graduate declined to shake hands with a board member who was Jewish. Then came the National Education Association Representative Assembly over the summer, the parent organization of OPRF's faculty union. There were extensive reports about an anti-Jewish atmosphere that permeated the meeting through physical and verbal action, as well as efforts to affect policies such as removing mention of Jews when referring to the Holocaust. Combined with news reports, articles, or I should say, combined with news articles and various reports that I have read about school-based anti-Jewish hate in various jurisdictions. These leave me, a Jewish partner, concerned about the coming year for Jewish students and staff. I've written the chair of the Faculty Senate with my concerns, as I believe the union should take responsibility for its members, but I have not received a reply. I am here with the hope that we will not have a repeat of the 2023-24 school year, when there were a small number of teachers who took advantage of their privilege, power, and school policies, or perhaps lack thereof, to dress and act in ways that intimidated Jewish students and parents and probably others, regardless of whether the teacher's motive was to intimidate. That was the result. I know the school undertook a program with Convergence, or all Convergence, I'm not sure which it was, as it was well publicized in August of 2024. A year has gone by and I haven't seen any public report, whether interim product or end products. There was nothing that I could find on the school website, nothing that I could find in the news. So it leads me to wonder what is going on, and I know that that was supposed to be the cornerstone of the OPRF activities regarding anti-Jewish activities. So what I'd like to do is ask you to let us know, let the community know what the Convergence status is, and what OPRF will be doing to combat anti-Jewish hate on campus and in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, we have to close our meeting. Public comments for tonight.
Thank you.
I move to approval of minutes. I move to approve the August 7th, 2025 committee of the whole minutes as presented. Are there any corrections or adjustments that need to be made? Hearing none, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. I am now going to adjust our agenda just a bit as we have a speaker who needs to be a little bit earlier. So we're going to move to policy, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Johnson.
Okay, we are excited to bring our philanthropic organization back. The Imagine Foundation is here. To follow up on the conversation that we first began, I guess on this exact topic last April, when a number of recognition opportunities were first brought to the Board of Education. As you take a look at the memo, the board will see references to policies and initial actions and information related to the Imagine Foundation. There was a request at that time to make clear, to really clarify exactly what naming recommendations would look like, both so we knew as a district what different types of recognitions could look like in different spaces, but also for our donors, so they would know exactly what they would be able to expect for different types of recognitions in different spaces. So this, we're bringing back to the board now 3 such opportunities. First, a new science lab in honor of Rachel Gamble Smiley. Second, the yoga mediation meditation classroom in honor of the Saddleton family. And third, the green room in honor of Elizabeth McGuire. The different dollar amounts are noted there in the memo. Most importantly, I think in response to the board's questions, you'll see both an attachment and linked here. Heidi, do you want to come up? Yeah. You will see the Imagine Foundation naming recognition guide. This has been a work that has been really the product of the foundation with collaboration with that Chimera architect. So kind of talk about exactly how you went about that.
Yeah, well, I would like to thank you for that discussion because it actually really pointed out something to us that needed to be remedied, which was a clear understanding of how these naming recognitions work. And just like Dr. Johnson just said, what the donors can expect as well. So yeah, we worked closely with FGMA and they provided renderings of spaces. I went through several different comparable guides to come up with a format, and we included the list of, you have it there, the list of naming recognition opportunities, a sample of what the contract looks like, and then all the visual renderings. So it's now on our website, and this is how we're going to move forward with talking with donors about potential naming opportunities. But it really was through this discussion that prompted that, so I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, and so the next steps really are pending this conversation for us to bring those recognition opportunities back to the board for approval 2 weeks from today. That said.
Any questions for Heidi?
As the primary complainant last April, I really appreciate that you did this. I think it hits exactly what the need was. And to prevent any misaligned expectations, and I also love the constant cross-reference of policy 8:80. So yes, this is great. Thank you.
I just am curious about whether the duration, so the 10, 12, 15 years is typical for naming rights with buildings? Pretty typical, yeah, unless it's a private building. And I know that the board voted on that for my time, actually. But no, I think that's pretty typical, and it gives the opportunity to raise money again if need be. And I mean, that's a long time down the road, but we'll have to see how quickly those things change over. It's typical.
Okay, thank you. Tammy, do you have a question?
I think the guide is very well done. I thank you for being so responsive to the feedback. It's very helpful.
So the question, we were going to eventually vote on these 3. Categories.
Yeah, my understanding they will come back to the full board meeting, to
The regular board meeting or
regular
just 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks.
So that vote is to approve, right? The second time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, now we will go back to the agenda and we will move into finance, so. Are we guys?
Yeah, the finance committee, I just saw, Mr. Arbogast is walking up, this really has 3 items, and I'm just gonna ask, Tony to move. Just from one to the other without further introduction, there's the cyber insurance policy, the approval of, the annual approval of depositories, all of which are listed in the memo, excuse me, and finally the resolution for mass transit exclusion. And all of these are just as the last item scheduled to be brought back to the board for a formal vote 2 weeks from tonight. Okay, second,
Yes, all 3 are typical annual items. Our cyber insurance policy will be brought forward for approval in 2 weeks. We brought our 2 most competitive quotes forward, one from HCC and one from Converge. Given the funding and the coverage limits, we're in recommendation to move forward with the Converge quote. And then following this, we would see next year the insurance come back as a full package for renewal. Second, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I had a question. The currently with HCC, right?
Yes,
And they increased the premium. What was the expiring premium annually, do you know?
I would have to look at
Or
it.
off the top of
Exactly.
your head, you know what size of increase they're asking for?
I have to look up. Next item is our resolution of repositories. Annually, the board just has to go through a formal approval process on the locations that we hold our money throughout the year. There's no changes to our depositories from last year, so it should be pretty standard and straightforward. In our review, nobody's limits or anything have changed, so everybody meets the standards that we require as a district. And then the third item that we brought forward in 2 weeks is our mass transit resolution. This is an annual item. We are in a unique spot as a district, and this is nothing new, but because we have such a robust access to public transportation in our area, the state of Illinois says that we are one of the districts that can waive the requirement of yellow school busing. And our students have access to the public transportation to get them to school. We last year heard from some families that were unhappy with on-time rates from PACE. Myself and Mr. Thomas have not heard from families this year that there have been any issues. Last year, following that meeting, I sent a letter to PACE and followed it up with a phone call to let them know the situation that we were experiencing. I did not get feedback from families that the situation was getting worse. I did happen to notice that it does seem the times that the buses run late generally coincide with times that we either see heavy traffic areas or road construction. So it can ebb and flow a little bit. Yeah, otherwise we'll be bringing this forward as our waiver in 2 weeks.
So this is one of the issues that one of the policies that I do. So is anyone who listens to knows that buses are not viable. I've tried to use basically now. I've tried using it on the metro and getting back home. Sometimes it's more accessible. I think in the early morning rush hour, after the day goes on, that's fine. And those intervals and the service routes, I don't anticipate that getting better next year. Right? The public receive the same level of some of the issues. So I am concerned, and I also I wonder, I'd like to explore if there's any type of accessibility trends and truth series.
So I had sent a few questions in advance, so thank you for answering those. Just for clarity, the exemption that you'll be asking for, the exclusion next, that we'll vote on at the next meeting is for this current school year, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Two questions. First of all, when you reached out to PACE, what kind of were they responsible? What kind of response were you able to get from them?
I did not get a written response from the letter, when I did communicate with them on the phone. I did get, it was a very cordial conversation, some explanation on if there is driver shortages, which I expected. But they, did provide a commitment to look at their on-time rates for our routes, that, run during our, normal pickup and drop off times prior to the school day. And then, had asked that if we hear, future complaints, that we reach out again.
Then my second question is, do you have any, or does the school have any data in terms of how many of our students or what percentages of our students actually utilize, PACE for transportation?
I would have to look into that. I'm not sure what data we do have.
Oh.
I also just had a question about if is there a correlation with the students who are running late and at risk of losing credit in classes with attendance, due to our attendance policy?
With that, and my lane is very much not in discipline, so I'm speaking a little bit generally here. But I would say we can see in the morning, we have a group of students from the bus, and the bus is kind of late and everybody comes in at the same time. There's been a bus issue, but I would have to defer to Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, we do not have, to my knowledge, a record or database that we keep of the number of students who use PACE on a daily basis. And so tracking that is something we have to figure out how we want to manage that. Regarding effects on school and all of that, clearly anytime anybody's studying for any purpose, it has some sort of effect, right? Representing kind of the classroom. But the only way that it would kind of formally get in, that absences would kind of formally get into how students perform in class would be the 12-day absence policy and the potential for any grade. But if we had a situation where a student was routinely absent from class because of a busing issue like that, because of PACE, that would squarely fall within one of those things that would be an exception to that, and we would work with them to figure that out. To my knowledge, thus far, we have not had an instance where a student who has had the potential for an N grade has said that, well, the challenge has been PACE bus transportation to school. So, but that's again, to my knowledge, we don't have a formal way, like I said, tracking the PACE bus to my knowledge at this point, but I'll do it.
Mr. Rodriguez, you mentioned that PACE kept data on its on-time percentages related to the state of park workforce.
No, they said that they would monitor their on-time. I don't know how they track their data. They just said they would monitor the routes to be on time.
If it's possible, that's something that I'd be curious to look at to see if there has been either improvement or something for us to consider. Actually, just relying on it.
I will reach back out and see if there's something that I can gather.
So Dr. Johnson, how do our truancy rates compare to our academic peers?
Fabulous question. I haven't tracked it in that too. We have tracked our chronic absenteeism, but not chronic truancy. And so I can go back and pretty sure to figure that out.
I agree with the statement that our truancy rates are high.
I agree with the statement that truancy rates overall are on the rise, and they are higher than we would certainly want them to be for sure.
By that, do you mean for all high schools or specifically OPRF?
Our chronic absenteeism rates, let's use that, all right, and assume that truancy is going to speak pretty well to it. Our chronic absenteeism rates for our comparative districts is on the higher end. than, so it is an higher step. But it is not leading the pack in an excessive way, we're within a bandwidth that is much higher than it was, let's say, 10 years. Certainly before the pandemic.
And as counselors and work with those children who have these issues, how often has the statement that due to their need to ride pace, that's correlated to their absentee?
Again, that, there's a lot of caveats on my response to that, because it's not only how many times did I said it, how many times did that filtered all the way up to me, and the answer is 0. But in order to really get that answer to the meaning of your question, I think this is what it is.
What I'm hearing is that we've not gotten more complaints, or we're not hearing a lot from students or parents about it being a concern, but something that will continue to monitor.
Yeah,
And kind of be on the lookout for should that.
100%, always willing to advocate for our students if we learn of a problem. And that goes for all levels of transportation, whether it's, the exemption here or, buses running late for field trips or athletic competitions, things like that, so.
Any other questions, Laura? Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And I want to pause because I failed to introduce our student delegate. Ala, welcome. Before you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alin, I'm a senior, I was a student delegate last year too, but this is my first year actually. So I'm excited.
We're very happy to have you here. So. And now we'll go back to 9, the policy. So we've done the name recognition. And next, I think these for first read. Tim, you're gonna kick it off first?
Sure, yeah. Really I think this was kind of an interesting collection of policies, probably the most substantive one, the county policy.
Yeah.
Right, I wondered if speak to that.
Yeah, actually, can I ask Dr. Sanders to come on up for this policy? This is one that affects her office the most. Essentially, there is a paid leave ordinance in Cook County that has some effects on public schools. And that effect warrants the policy revision that we have in front of you right now. And so if I could pass this over to Dr. Sanders to just give a quick kind of overview of what this is and kind of a sense of, Roxanne, could you share not only kind of what it is and how it affects us, but kind of help to narrow our focus on the employees, the types of employees that are affected most? Okay.
Yeah, so this Cook County ordinance is specifically for employees who work in Cook County. And the reason we're bringing it to the board now, because for a while, there's been a lot of debate whether it would affect public school districts or not. There was some pending legislation, so now it's certain that it will affect some villages and municipalities opted out of it. Our village did not, so it does affect us. And the groups of employees that are specifically now have the right for this paid leave is anybody who works over 40 hours. So it's a 1 hour of leave for every 40 hours worked, but most of our employees already receive paid leave. So it only pertains to those groups of employees who currently don't have paid leave, such as guest teachers or substitute teachers, any outside coaches or sponsors. And that's basically it, because everybody else who is a regular employee already receives paid. And so we will be having, two ways of accruing, two ways of allocating, sick leave for guest teachers who will be accruing. So if they work 40 hours, they will receive 1 hour of paid leave. And then, for other groups where hours are more predictable or even fixed, they will be front loaded, such as for coaches and sponsors from outside.
So the threshold is 40 hours.
Correct.
a week. So if I work 38 hours a week,
It's not a week, it's for every 40 hours work.
for every 40 hours worked.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that could be cumulative over a long period of time.
Correct.
You can tell me that, or
Yeah, thank you for that. So that's the third of the 4 policies that are being presented. The first one comes from cleanup work that the clerk of the board was doing. We adopted 125 some years ago. Apparently, the board at that time didn't adopt the exhibit to the policy. So this is simply cleanup. We're simply adopting an exhibit, and the clerk of the board is very responsible that we do follow these OMA procedures, so that the policy reflects what our practice has been. This, the first one is simply cleanup. So I just talked about how we go on. So,
The last one is the concussion one, 7305.
oh, right.
And you mind if I jump in on that too? Is that right? So 7305 is the student athlete concussion and head injuries policy. This was one that actually came to us. It came to our administrative team last spring sometime, and we had some discussions about exactly how this was being plowed in our district. So at the time, when that flight press policies were coming to the board for update, we pulled it at our level to investigate it a little bit further, particularly related to the choir committee that's in there. We wanted to make sure we had that in place, and Nicole Epson has verified that, and we have a committee member who's serving this, and I'm a question on it. And so that policy is going to come forward as written for approval. And I should actually just say that for all the policies. So all of the policies listed here are ones that policy committee has discussed and has agreed to bring forward for approval, well, for a second reading and approval. 2 weeks.
you want any other questions or comments on the policies? So in which case we'll come back to these in 2 weeks, like we just mentioned. And our last agenda item is board governance, and we
I know, sorry, I'll just.
and we have been working on our board goals. So I'm just going to do a quick round robin about where we are, and we can hopefully bring back our finalized goals for our next board meeting as well, so that we can have things ready. Our targets get those done by end of September, so that they can be posted and how we started to work on them. And Graham, and I think I need to start first.
So right now, me, Fred, and Jonathan, we're getting ourselves organized and deciding which of our 4 assigned goals we're gonna parse out to 2-person teams. So we've been working on that back and forth, and may actually seek to recruit another board member for one of them potentially. Quite excited.
Thank you, Graham. Could you remind us what goals you all looking at in terms of categories?
Yes, they are. So we own the facilities and finance category. We have 4 focus areas: the annual budget and the budgeting process, budget scenarios, determine the go, no-go decision around project 3, and the collective bargaining agreement refers to a faculty side.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so we will talk more in 2 weeks, unless anyone has questions for Brown. And I'll just do a quick update on communication. Josh, feel free to jump in. So Josh and I had a chance to meet, and our communication focus is continuing to be around community outreach and engagement, which we started last year. And we also started some work in terms of how does the board get out to the community and have more two-way dialogue. So we're looking at starting what we would call these, kind of listening posts as an opportunity to get out to the community. And then another idea that's just come up that I haven't even talked with Josh about yet is a potential of having opportunities like, kind of board member office hour or something to be, but thinking of what are ways that we can make ourselves available to our community. We're looking at metrics too that we've identified for community members or parents who are not as engaged. So we looked at Skyward plugins, we looked at, kind of parent teacher conferences, Husky emails, and now we have Parent Square. We'll probably, that might be another metric that we can use to help us identify. And then just really working with Dr. Johnson and his data teams to pull data again around those precincts at Oak Park and also in the forest where we don't have the level of engagement that we like. So continuing to focus on those.
Yeah, I just have right, expanding the metrics is important, like making getting a fuller view of what we define as like an engaged audience versus disengaged audience, and that's been working with the administration to see. This also is its knowledge to that, right? See if there are physical geographies that are tied to certain lack of engagement or lack of knowledge dissemination, and using that as a way to,
Yeah, and I appreciate all the work that the district leadership team has been doing around analytics data. So I know that some of the kinds of things that Josh and I talked about, and want to see very correlations, very things that we can, kind of help us get a better picture. I know that data is available, and so we'll be able to work with the district around police.
Just build on your communication topic for a quick second. You may recall Lisa had this tremendous suggestion that we could have a board table at back to school night.
Yes.
So we did that. And you had Josh, you had Fred and myself. It was fantastic and a lot of fun and a lot of interesting, engaging conversations with parents. And it felt like such a no-brainer. I was embarrassed we didn't think of it sooner to be present. It was very successful and we filled up a lot of grounds.
Yeah. And that will be
a lot of directions too.
I'm trying to avoid that. Like it's qualified to tell you, well, here's how you look at this.
There were people lost all over.
Yeah, it was a great night.
Yeah, when I stopped by, I had a chance to see the conversations that were happening, so I think that was good. It's something that we'll add, that we'll have, going forward, making sure that we have that presence.
one of the things I think is nice about it is talking to parents that are seeing how can be more involved. Whether to get involved in activities or whatnot, which was, it's really nice to see that.
Another credit to Lisa is she prepared a handout, little document that had QR codes for the basics, like here's how you get the board book and policies and stuff like that. So that was another great touch. Thank you, Lisa.
We didn't use for listening to some of the things that we do.
Civics fair?
Oh, the Civic Fair, right? It's coming up. So. Great, that's right. Thank you. And then next, give me a score who we need, what our other goals are. Just for kidding. Thank you. Tim, we go better. River.
We so far we're working as a board for specific goals, the freshman curriculum initiative, assessment, and exploring opportunities to expand career pathway options, the AI impacts, challenges, opportunities. Student safety, assessment, also, PD activities, maybe, getting reporting, maybe bigger way than we have in the past, making sure that our PD activities, adhere to board policy. So those are the things that we're working so far.
I have a question. We've got board members assigned to each of these ones. Should our student delegate be included somewhere?
I don't believe that.
Delegates.
Yeah, I would love to be included, so far, like, the different categories are academics and then communication. I'm pretty sure, is there one on sustainability? Or is that like categories?
Yeah, so not for a goal, but we do have a sustainability committee,
Yeah,
that I think the opportunities to be, involved in, so.
yeah, that I would love to be involved in them. The communications or the academics, both sound interesting. Okay.
We'll follow with you.
Can I just ask, I love hearing the progress, but it really helps me to be able to read it. When can we like sort of aggregate all this?
Yeah, that's my next thing, is that I would like us to aggregate them for our next meeting, so we can, kind of summarize it, that's Lisa, and then we'll have a document that we can all look at and read and just read to and finalize, so that we can get things posted and shared.
Okay, when should we have everything for this?
I recommend getting everything, if you could, by next Friday. Which is, let me think that it is 19. That work for you?
Yeah.
We've already submitted, so yeah.
Something's already accomplished it, yes.
First and last, I'll tell you that right now.
So it's clear that we are looking at all of our committees and potentially offering that diversity delegates, because that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly, so I will make sure that I share all the times of, what things were on, and what's available, and see what fits, because it also says that you being a student in your schedule, but you being engaged in what he said. And we didn't have any updated board atlas, but as our goals are updated, that will definitely be an opportunity for us to update, yeah.
It's in construction.
In construction. And then finally, are there any future agenda items?
If there are no, there might be others.
New.
Might be others. I am passing out right now, so all board members have a copy of this. It's a list of outstanding future agenda items. And there are some that need to, there are two listed here that have already been granted consensus on for the future board agendas. And there are three that are outstanding that need some consideration. So it's really, we talked about this last meeting, so it's really those last three that are up for discussion right now, that's kind of warm us up to that. Last January, Lee mentioned 5 essentials and how that informs our metrics in the state report card. We'll put that out naturally to the board in November, so that runs in that time frame. Additionally, there was conversation about our transfer students last spring, and we haven't had a final date for that, but we have a lot of progress in that area, a lot of work here, so that will be this fall. And then the next 3 topics are the mentoring protocol for student ambassadors. There is risk management and safety updates for our insurance carrier, and there is demographic data efforts and and questions around that goal that has been with us for several years now. Just to be clear about our administrative team's ask on this, the question is really whether we want to formalize those 3 and have them definitely come to the board. They've all been requested by one board member, and the question is there a consensus to efficiently kind of lead that into a time frame down? Is that?
Yeah, I do. And just to refresh our members, because we did have these conversations, several months ago, we did have this additional conversation with the board members to make proposals about what it's working for us, so we can determine the board is something we want to align on adding to future agenda. And so, The first one's running mentoring protocols and Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that, we need some sort of shared framework, some guiding curriculum for. We're doing what we're doing with, mentoring students, our student delegates. I just think it just makes a lot of sense. So there needs to be, a more of a structured process to that instead of just.
Can I add something else, unless there's another board member comment, I don't wanna jump in front there, but I have a piece. What was the first one? Nothing. Oh, nothing. It's because of a larger document there had been others, but I filtered this down just the wrong ones for you all. But thank you for noticing the colors. So my question is, so one of the things we recognized last year, you know, just to remind also last January when we agreed to this or whatever that was, we agreed that it would be kind of an 18-month kind of pilot period to figure out how this goes. And then near the end of this school year, the question will come back to the board about how we should continue, what it should look like. But that doesn't mean we should make changes along the way if we see something. This is one kind of a complementary change that we've already made regarding delegates for this school year is we started this, was it just this week or was it this week? It was Tuesday. I met with the delegates to just go over the agenda item by item for the entire month, not just this, but items that are coming up at the regular meeting in 2 weeks, to kind of orient them to what those topics are, why they're coming to the board, what kind of history or context might be, and see if there's any questions. I plan to continue that throughout the entire school year. I don't know if that could be incorporated into some sort of mentoring protocol, Jonathan, as you suggested, but it is a piece that is, you know, related. So I want to make sure I do that out.
Other votes?
So the question, do we want this to come back as a topic for our agenda? Okay, and consensus is, I'm assuming you're interested in this, just so there's some kind of a program or game plan.
Yeah, I just think we should have a document that brings it all together. That defines the structure and process of what our mentoring of student delegates is, I think. Good governance.
General agreement. So, okay, 1, 2, 3. You will add that.
Got it.
And grant for the risk management safety thing, insurance carrier.
Well, this came out of that meeting when we talked about the number of claims relating to injuries, how significant it was, and seemed like there's to address safety management, safety culture, and so forth. So I was interested in the administration taking the vision back, developing a plan, program, strategy to address the rate of incidents and injuries that were driving insurance costs, but also just generally we have to ensure our employees are safe, not getting injured, and you know, feel like the organization takes that seriously. That's the reason I thought this is a good topic to have come back to us.
Okay, I think it's right. I know that Mr. Rodriguez reached out to Mr. Arkin and myself to see if we'd be interested in joining a committee to make sure that we do develop a culture of safety and manage our risk appropriately. So that's
So that's already underway, so I guess the output would be a report or update in terms of what's happening in that area from the committee, the committee that's being formed. So, correct, Tony?
Yeah.
Other comments, because if that's the case, then I just see it as a future document, I guess a non-committee updates the board. If everyone can do that.
Yeah, I think it's more on us, but we should probably set a date that we want to, you know, do something by, right? And then set some sort of cadence for the rest of the board.
Okay. And then her last was about the direct data and this for both Graham and Tim in terms of our goal and our purpose.
noted that, Greg, that you asked to set up a meeting, bring it next week. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. I guess, so in order to kind of better understand what this request is and kind of where it could go, we set this meeting. Lisa, I know you were setting up, is it next week? Is that right?
Next weekend.
Excellent. And so I think my inclination is to say, let's have that meeting. And then let's decide after that if we think we should, bring this back for a meeting. Unless you think maybe it's worthy earlier. The reason I say that is because we already know that on some level, the demographic data is an annual thing anyway, so, I don't know.
So the problem statement is, you're right, the personnel report comes out every August. And we have in our strat plan, a goal to try to increase diversity of our teaching staff to better mirror diversity of our student body. And our progress on that front has essentially been stuck now for 7 years, which begs the question, is this still a goal we think is attainable, is worth trying to tackle? And this is one of those things where we don't want to, this past August, say, oh, okay, we're kind of stuck. And then we forget about the topic. A year later, see the data. Oh, yeah, we're still kind of stuck. What's your rate? So this is kind of a time out and say, okay, hey, what is the issue? Is there something that we falling short in some way in our efforts? Is the goal not realistic? Is the goal not a priority? It's kind of a move through on that specific diversity and staff. And you said, hey, let's get together and keep this around. So yeah, we've got a meeting on the calendar.
And hopefully coming out of that meeting, we can sort of agree on better definition for what we're trying to tackle and what we can tackle.
If that makes sense, we'll postpone until after you all meet and have a chance to come up with the scope and plan. And I also should add, are there any new topics that anyone wants to bring up with respect to the tonight? Emily?
I have two, the first of which pertains to the conversation earlier about the transit exclusion. So I think looks like we're likely to approve that exclusion for this current school year, 25-26, which makes sense. But I would be interested in spending a little bit more time hearing some of the logic behind using the transit exclusion and exploring what the implications might be if we were to provide transportation in terms of, safety issues, potentially reducing cars around the building during drop off, some environmental sustainability issues in terms of getting cars off the road because people wouldn't be driving their kids to school so much potentially, and then understanding the costs and the community need. So that's one. And then the other one is, I just wanted to ask Greg if we could potentially get an update from the district on preparation for immigration enforcement activities with the way the landscape is changing so quickly and so unpredictably. I think it would be interesting for us to just know what the planning looks like so that our minds can be at ease that the district is well prepared.
You know what, given that that's really timely, can I speak to that right now really quick? So just two things really quickly. A year ago, less than a year ago, sometime in January, we first came up with a list of protocols for exactly how to handle this as a school staff, as immigration enforcement officials. There are very clear legal rights that students in high school have and very clear procedures that we put in place with our safety security team. Those are communicated out. I talked about that with our safety security team this year, and I'm very comfortable that we are in a good situation there as building staff. I've discussed that with her just this week. Secondly, recently we've had a conversation, actually Karen has been reached out to by Dan Yachik, I believe, is that correct? The communications officer at the village, to convene a conversation amongst you and perhaps some others in the community to ensure, or to see what we can do to make sure that the different village public organizations are in sync with one another.
And we're actually meeting tomorrow.
Oh, and you're meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
And so, from what we have right now, what we understand from the communications that they have put out, we are very much in sync with what the village has already communicated, but, tomorrow is an effort to show that, stuff. So, yeah, I think we're in good order with that one, but, we'll learn more soon.
Thanks, any others?
I am, actually, Greg, we talked about this briefly at some point, and I'm not sure when this is coming up on the calendar, but I would like to hear, more from Dr. Hester of, vision for curriculum, and specifically CTE, programming and environmental students.
So we'll start earlier this week, I'm excited about it. So I'll add it to the list and then bring it back to the board of the conversation.
File on here for the plate for students, but I think there is one item missing, which is in the spring, we received a report about extracurricular participation among students. And in that report, it was shown that the rate of participation in extracurriculars for Black students never recovered from the pre-pandemic levels, whereas that was not true for other groups. And my interest in that was similar to the staff demographic report. We don't get this report in the spring and we're like, oh, we should do something about that. A year from now, it turns out to be the same. So I think I expressed at the time that I wanted to have that as a follow-up item because I would want the administration to do something meaningful in terms of a cause analysis and talking to students and so forth to try to address that. So that to me would be an item also here for issues to come back.
Similar to there is an annual extracurricular participation report that we bring to the board every fall for the previous school year, and we will have that this month for the board. It's not a formal discussion item that we normally bring. It's either been something we send to the board or something that's an information item. So we'll share that out and see where we're at, and then we'll continue that.
No? So we had taken a recess from our closed session, so we actually need to go back to closed session. So you move to recess. So I moved to recess and open the committee, the whole meeting, and we're gonna go back to closed session.
So I think we can close this meeting.
We close this meeting?
Special, right? Or no?
No.
It's open.
We can't, we have to finish closed session before we can close this meeting, because we have closed sessions in the calendar agenda.
Right, okay, so we're gonna recess, open session, and we're going to move back to closed session, and finish the discussion, and we'll reconvene open after that is done.
Can I get a second?
Yes, second. Okay, all in favor? Right, back in closed session.
Everybody can
Okay,
We are reconvening, our open session. And we have completed all of our agenda items, so I would like to move to close open session at 9:08 p.m.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So our open session is closed, and now we're gonna move into our special board meeting. So I call to order the special board meeting at also now 8 p.m. in the board room of Oak Park Memorial Forest High School. Please call the roll.
Mr. Grandhorst, Mr. Gertz,
Here.
Dr. Livingston,
Here.
Dr. Odell. Here. Mr. Brisbane.
Here.
Mr. Arkin.
Here.
And Ms. Muesley.
Here. And Ms. Evans, are there any public comments?
None.
So we'll move into our action items, and I move to approve the following action items. Approval of the personnel recommendations, including new hires, assignment changes, transfers, leaves of absence, resignations, and retirements. Second, right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Gertz.
Aye. Yes. Yes.
Dr. Livingston. Yes. Mr. Brisbane.
Yes.
Mr. Arkin.
Yes.
Dr. Odell.
Yes.
Mr. Grandhorst.
Yes.
And Ms. Muesley.
Yes. And with that, I move to adjourn the special meeting at 9:09 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.